Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraft woman Bryony Bishop. We welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association, and we welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Walford Anglican School for Girls from Hyde Park, South Australia. Now, if you're able, I invite you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If you wish to and you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sapper John Burton Siddall. John Siddall was born on the 14th of July, 1891, the youngest son of John and Ellen Siddall of Adelaide. His father was involved in the printing and publishing business in Adelaide, establishing businesses in Bowman's Arcade, Grenfell Street and Lee Street. John Siddall took an active interest in military matters and served in the militia for 6 years. He was a keen member of the Cyclists Rifle Club and noted to be always prominent at the club's shooting engagements. Educated at Kaya College in Unley, he went on to manage another of his father's printing businesses in Curry Street. John Siddall's older brother Ernest enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in June 1915. John followed a little over a month later. Unlike his brother, who entered the Medical Corps, John undertook training at Mitcham Camp to become a signaller. He completed his training at the Engineer Depot in Victoria and embarked on the troop ship Afric in January 1916 for active service overseas. On the 7th of March 1916, shortly after arriving in Egypt, John Siddall went to hospital to see about a bad cough he had had for some weeks. He felt stuffy in the head, had shivering fits and a severe headache, but was sent back to his tent with medication. The following day, he was brought back to the hospital unconscious and diagnosed with cerebrospinal meningitis, cases of which had been increasing on Australian troop ships and in camps along the Suez Canal since January 1916. Sapper John Siddall's condition remained serious. His brother, who was serving at Gezero Hospital in Cairo, attended him. On the 12th of March, although suffering from a stiff neck and painful neck, John was feeling much better and could speak and answer clearly. Within days, however, his condition declined sharply, and by the morning of the 15th of March, he was reported as much worse. He died at 11:45 a.m. that day. John Burton Siddall was buried at the Cairo War Memorial Cemetery, where he lies today under the epitaph, "For King and Country." He was 24 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed by the Pool of Refection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sapper John Burton Siddall, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments. Well, it's over, but in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. Wish you all a very pleasant evening.